Today we're going to talk about the anatomy of phonation. So in today's class we will discuss what is phonation and the structures involved in phonation. So the major structure of the phonatory system is the larynx, and it's pronounced lair-inx, not larynx, and this is the structure right here in your throat. Okay, so you ask, what is phonation? Phonation is also known as voicing, and it's the product of vibrating vocal folds, and it occurs within the larynx. And phonation is the source for voice, for speech. Our respiration system provides the energy that allows for phonation. And we have voiced and voiceless sounds. Voiced sounds are those where our vocal folds are vibrating, and voiceless sounds are where we have air passing through our vocal folds, but there's no vibration going on. So here's a picture of your vocal folds, and there's 5 layers of tissue, and we'll talk about these a little bit more in depth a little bit later. But when we look at the vocal folds, you see there's one on the right and one on the left side, and these are closed, and then these are the vocal folds that are open here. There's a picture of the vocal folds open here, and you can see it leading down into the trachea, into your lungs. Now, this space right here between the vocal folds is called the glottis, and it's the most important laryngeal space for speech, because it's the opening and closing of the glottis that helps produce sound. When you see anything that says subglottal, it just means below the vocal folds. Your vocal folds are really sensitive to the internal and the external environment. So things in the external environment like cigarette smoke and other pollutants can really harm your vocal folds. And sensitivity in the internal environment are things like dry tissue, contact ulcers, or vocal nodules. Typically, therapy for your vocal folds involves humidification, drinking lots of water, and sometimes medication. Okay, so let's talk about the biological functions of our larynx, of this whole structure that houses our vocal folds. So our larynx produces phonation, so our vocal folds are the ones that are producing the sound. The larynx helps clamp the airway in response to foreign objects like food or liquid going in. So when we swallow, our vocal folds close to protect our airway, to protect the trachea from food going in. If there's something that gets close to your vocal folds, then you start coughing and you try and clear your airway. Some other biological functions are the vocal folds allow you to hold your breath. And so we need to hold our breath in swimming and lifting, like lifting weights. It's really important in childbirth and also plays a role in defecation. Okay, so those are the biological functions of the larynx. So we know that the most important aspect for a speech pathologist is for speech, but there are also other biological functions. So now let's talk about the actual structures of the larynx. Okay, so the larynx is a musculo-cartilaginous structure. So just as the name sounds, it's composed of muscle and cartilage. And we're going to go into detail about all of the different cartilages and all of the different muscles. So it's located, the whole larynx is located at the top of the last ring of the trachea. I'm not sure why it's called the last ring of the trachea because it seems like it would be the first ring of the trachea, but it's sitting on top of the trachea and it's adjacent to your cervical vertebrae 4 through 6. So here's a picture of it, of the structure right in here. So from here to here is your larynx. And then this is just a broader picture of all of the cartilages that we will be discussing in detail. Okay, so let's talk about the anatomy of the larynx. So it's composed of one bone, which actually technically isn't part of the larynx, but it's next to it, so we discuss it. There's cartilages, so there's 3 paired cartilages and 3 unpaired cartilages. The 3 paired cartilages are the arytenoid cartilages, the corniculate cartilages, and the cuneiform cartilages. And the 3 unpaired cartilages are the cricoid cartilage, the thyroid cartilage, and the epiglottis cartilage. And then there's cavities of the larynx and then muscles of the larynx. So let's take a look at this beautiful structure that we're going to be talking in more detail about. And the larynx starts here at this hyoid bone here, and then it ends, you see the start of the trachea here. This is the front view, so if you're looking at someone's throat from face on, and then this is a view of the larynx from the back. Okay, so the hyoid bone, the thing that's unique about the hyoid bone is it actually does not articulate with another bone. So it looks like kind of a free-floating U-shaped bone. And it joins the larynx with the tongue. Okay, so here's another view of this hyoid bone up here. It's joining the larynx with the tongue. Okay, so like I mentioned before, it's not technically part of the larynx, but since it is the top of it, that's why we discuss it in relation to it. And it is this free-floating bone. It's U-shaped, positioned horizontally within the neck, with the opening toward the back. Now, there's 2 sets of horns on here. The horns are the part in the back. You see these horns here? And these are called the greater cornu. And the greater cornu are located at the back and join with the superior cornu of the thyroid. So that'll make more sense when we talk about the thyroid cartilage. Now, the lesser cornu, these little horns up in the front here, you can see on the side the lesser cornu, these extend from the body structure and it suspends the larynx through various connections. Okay, so here's just another picture of the hyoid bone, and you can see the greater cornu here and here, and the lesser cornu here and here. By the time you're 2 years old, there's complete ossification, so the bone is hardened by the age of 2. Okay, so here are these laryngeal cartilages we're going to talk about. So here are the 3 that are unpaired. That just means there's 1 cartilage. Here are the 3 that have 2 cartilages each. There's a pair of them. So let's go into talking about each one of these. Here's just another picture of the laryngeal structure. And here's another picture with the front and the back. Okay, the thyroid cartilage, I'm going to go back one. The thyroid cartilage is this cartilage right here. See this large cartilage here? And here's a picture of it without the rest of the structures. It's the largest of the laryngeal cartilages, and it forms most of the front and sides of the laryngeal skeleton. These two large plates, the plates right here on the right and the left side, these are called the thyroid lamina, and they meet in the middle, and they kind of look like a butterfly shape. This upper part right here is the thyroid notch. And you can see that the thyroid notch there at the, if you continue along to the back, there's horns on the thyroid cartilage, and these are called the superior cornu and the inferior cornu. These horns, or cornu, they have facets that attach to other structures. Okay, the cricoid cartilage is the lower part of the laryngeal skeleton. It's the very bottom part. Let me go back and show you this picture. The cricoid cartilage is here at the very bottom. So here's the trachea, and then here's the cricoid cartilage here. So it's a ring shaped, and it lies right above the trachea. It's really thick in the very back. Do you see how thick it is here? And then in the front, it's much thinner. The front is called the anterior arch. Now, there are there are 4 facets. And a facet just means where there's a connection. So there's 2 upper facets up here for the arytenoid cartilages and 2 lower facets here for the thyroid cartilages, for the thyroid cartilage. So here again you can see this cricoid cartilage here, and it's connected to the trachea, and then in the back it's connected to the thyroid cartilage. Okay, the arytenoid cartilages. These are one of the paired cartilages. So there's 2 arytenoids, and they're each on top of the cricoid cartilage, and they look like a pyramid shape. So here's a front view of these pyramid shaped cartilages, and here's a side view. The apex, the very top, has a small cartilage called the corniculate cartilage, which is fused to the top of the arytenoid cartilages. At the base, so you could see on the bottom here, there's a pointed projection that extends to the front, and these pointed projections here and here are called the vocal process. And then at the bottom here, this is called the muscular process. The muscular process connects with the cricoid cartilage. The epiglottis is a single cartilage that's right behind the hyoid bone and is the root of the tongue. It looks like a shoehorn or a large tongue. So here's here's different angles of the epiglottis. And you can see a picture of it from the back. When you swallow, it folds down and over your vocal folds to help protect your windpipe, to help protect your trachea.